Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Crypto Gaming Institute podcast. I'm your host, Ben Gothard, founder of the organization. And today we have the honor of speaking with Mr. Valentin Mihov. How you doing today, Val?
I'm doing great. What a great intro. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for coming to be on the show. Now, I was doing some research on you, and you're a badass when it comes to yield farming, angel investing. You're a fund manager, a founder, and a crypto multi-cycler. I've never heard that term before. So I'm really excited to speak with you today. Just to really kick it off, I'd love to understand your story and how you really got into the space. And yeah, I'd love to hear your story.
Yeah, sure. So I bought my first Bitcoin 2004 and 2013. Yeah, that was when I learned about the technology, and I'm with engineering background. So I've been writing software for many years, even like starting from high school. And this is like when I learned about it and I read what it is, and I understood that it solves a problem that hasn't been solved before. It's a kind of one of these weird computer science problems that you don't have a solution, and suddenly bam, there is like something out there that manages to solve that. And I was super fascinated by that. And at that point, I was already working like as a software engineer and all this. And I had the idea that I need to start investing in some way because nobody became rich because he was working. And I decided, okay, well, I'm young, so let's try this out. And I was actually thinking that it's that's an easy thing. You buy low, you sell high, and you make a lot of money, right? So I bought my first Bitcoins 2013. I started trading them, and I lost like I don't know 40% of them, and it was
Oh
like a
no.
disaster. And this is when I learned that you might think you're smart, but the market is the smartest thing out there, and it's very hard to beat it. So I just left it there, and I decided that okay, so obviously there is like more thing that I need to learn about this. So I just left it in cold storage till 2017. Oh, sorry about that. There's like an airplane going. So I left it in cold storage till 2017, and this is at that point I had like a small company, like a outsourcing company that I was running, and I had this opportunity to join a project that just raised an ICO as a CTO. And I was like, oh, well, that sounds like a great opportunity to go into crypto like full time and start learning more about it because I continued to believe in it, although I lost money. And this is when I started professionally like working in the space. And I learned more about Ethereum at that point and what it is all about. I invested a little bit in ICOs, but I was quite cautious after my initial experience with Bitcoin. So I try not to go too crazy about it. So yeah, I bought some ICO coins. Then the market crashed. And I think at the bottom of the market, I pretty much sold everything and bought Ethereum with it, which was actually a good way to, like in retrospect, to gain back, what I lost from the ICOs. And yeah, I was working on this crypto product called Sentiment. It was on-chain analytics for about 3 years. And then last year, around the beginning of 2020, I decided to leave the company because I think the business development was not going in the way that I imagined it. And this is when the DeFi summer started. And it was one of these moments where you're at the right place in the right time. If you look at it like from a very basic overview, but I think it took me like 7 years to reach to that point where I've already was familiar with like compound and all this yield farming and thing. I was already doing this before it was kind of popular. So when the whole thing exploded, I was just like, oh my God, I know this thing. I know how to do it. And everybody else was like, I have no idea what I'm doing. And that was like a great opportunity that allowed me to utilize like some of the funds that I had in order to do yield farming in a kind of a safe way because I could security assess the contract. And during this time, my strategy was to accumulate as much Ethereum as I can. So while I was farming, I was, buying as much Ethereum as I can with the yield. And the reason I did that was that so the way I compared it is, imagine you take someone from the past and you give him like the internet banking that we have right now. And he will be like totally blown away. He was like, oh, how it is possible that I go to the bank and do all these things while I can do this from my home on my computer. So when I started using DeFi, it was the same kind of moment for me in the internet banking. I was like, oh my God, this is so good. So this is going to replace like internet banking. This is banking I don't know, 3.0 or something like that. So I was like, this is just so undervalued. So I was, accumulating ETH because, my thesis was that, well, it's very hard to figure out which of all these protocols are going to be the successful one, but all of them are going to be based on Ethereum. So let's invest in the internet, not in Amazon or Google or pets.com, because during the .com bubble, you don't know, like it's the same like the .com bubble in 2000, although I was quite young back then. You don't know which companies are going to be the ones that survive and make it. So you can just invest in the internet, and this is and it's just 10x from there. And I mean, yeah, that's I think that's the story.
That's amazing. So then it seems like you have had a lot of ups and downs. You've been a part of the crypto scene since 2013. So you have seen everything kind of from the beginning. I mean, basically from the beginning. So as you're now in 2021, you're a co-founder and fund manager. You have a lot of projects that you're involved with. What are some of the things that you've really, and I want to make it specific to crypto gaming in a little bit, but just kind of overall, like, what are some of the things that you've really learned, like being a fund manager, starting your own, your own thing, being a yield farmer for so long? Like, what are just some of the things that you've picked up along the way that people really should know based on your experience?
Well, one of the things, and this is something that people really ask me like all the time, and it's like, what should I buy? And they are like, what should I buy to be rich, right? Everyone wants to become rich like overnight. And I think people need to understand that usually, when you enter the scene, it's going to be at the top. And this is, what happened to me. In 2013, I bought at the top. I mean, Bitcoin was like $1,000 back then, and it dropped to like, I don't know, less than 500 or something. I mean, this is when you're going to learn about it, because that's like when the biggest hype is. When crypto crashes, especially like during the crypto winter, like the most recent one that lasted, I don't know, over 2 years, nobody's talking about crypto. And back then I was actually working in the crypto industry. So I think in order to be really successful and to have some really good results, you need first to be prepared that you're going to enter at the peak. And that's very probable that's going to happen. So then the market is going to crash and you'll be like really in bad mood, and you're going to see how your money kind of becomes just burn there. And there is a very strong feeling in that time that you want to sell, you want to panic sell. So I think it's important to start investing with, not a large amount of your portfolio. And I think it's important to start. I don't recommend people to start with wall cap coins because I think the risk is just too big there. So if you're on more on the conservative side, just start with some, I don't know, with some Bitcoin or some Ether or whatever, like one of these big ones, just to start paying attention to the market. The moment when you have a little bit of skin in the game, you're going to start paying attention to what is going on. And then you're going to start paying attention to like large drops. Like you're going to see, it's much more probable you're going to see like a large correction, and then you'll be able to enter like at a very good price. I think, that's something that people need to understand. And I think a lot of people just go there, start to day trade, start to use leverage and all this. And this is just a recipe for disaster. I think very, very, very few people actually make money out of day trading, way more than they advertise on Twitter. Because, people, like famous people on Twitter, they monetize their engagement. They don't monetize their trades. So we'll be really careful about that. I think people just have a distorted understanding of day trading and all that. And also, another thing that I kind of learned during that time is these kind of bubble and bust cycles, they're in the long run, they're actually good for the ecosystem, because what happens is that, like during the ICO bubble, 2017, a lot of companies raised really a shit ton of money, and there are a lot of scams, and everyone was raising money on like a sheet of paper, right? Like a white paper. Well, what happened is that 90% of the companies failed, but out of the ashes of these companies appeared stuff like Uniswap and Balancer and 1inch protocol, like all these projects that are like top projects right now emerged from that. And it's the same like in 2000.com bubble, ton of companies that raised a lot of capital, most of them fail, but then we have like Amazon, Google, Facebook and all that. So I think we are seeing something like this right now. It's very similar to ICO bubble, like in the about NFTs, about like raising money for different projects. It's a bit different in a sense that projects that are raising money right now, they don't raise it on like a white paper. They usually have semi-working product, or they're about to launch it or something like that. So it's a bit more healthy environment from that sense. But still, I think people need to be prepared that a lot of these companies are going to fail along the way. And it's very hard to predict who will be the successful ones. So when I do angel investing, I try to put it in my mind in a sense that, okay, like the amount of portfolio that I'm going to allocate to angel investing, I kind of consider this kind of illiquid locked funds that I try not to make it too large of a percent of my portfolio, so that if everything fails, I would feel really bad about it. But some of the companies will have the potential to like be like 10, 20, 50x. And this is like what you're after. So I think right now the situation is probably like this. And even in the gaming industry, I think it's the same. It's like all these hype, all these companies wanting to make the next crypto game that's going to be like X Infinity and all that. I think there is a high chance most of them are going to fail, but I'm pretty sure that there will be some of them that are going to find a great market fit, and these will be like a huge winners.
So when it comes to the actual, like you're getting in and, I'm thinking of like a beginner or somebody who doesn't really know what they're doing, and they see this bull run happening. And let's say for crypto gaming specifically, we are in a period of time where the people who are going to be like the oil barons of the crypto gaming world, of the metaverse, like they're being defined in real time. I mean, we're seeing the giants being born and growing right now. So somebody who's coming in, they don't have the experience. They have some capital, not too much, or maybe not that much capital at all, but they see this happening and they don't want to miss out. Like, are they just going to either take random shots at the dartboard and maybe get screwed, or should they sit it out and just look and wait, or should they make tiny bets? Like, how would you advise somebody in that scenario who they see it coming, but they don't have the experience, they don't really have the capital to do it big, but they want to participate in some way?
Well, one of the problems participating, especially on Ethereum, is that it really doesn't make sense to use DeFi and any like trading with small amount of money, because the fees are so high that your profits will be eaten by the fees. So personally, like I don't see myself as a trader, because I didn't manage to succeed, doing trading. Like I always believe that you need to have some edge over the market. in order to be successful. Otherwise, it's pretty much like gambling. You're going to like throw the dice and whatever happens, right? So I guess these people that are deep into gaming, maybe the way they can approach the market and have some edge over it is utilize their knowledge about gaming and try to figure out who will be the games or the platforms that are going to actually succeed. Because like I do some gaming, but I'm not like a huge. I just don't have the time to game as much as I used to. But I'm constantly like in an argument with a friend of mine who is like a big gamer. He actually owns a small dev studio. Maybe you heard about Cryo War. It's actually very famous right now. And his belief is that it's actually very hard to combine crypto with engagement in gaming. And his opinion is that the moment when you slap play to earn over a game, you're kind of changing the engagement dynamics into it. And it becomes very hard to be a successful game from an engagement perspective. So I think the key point in this market to identify the winners will be to somehow figure out who will be the team that resolve this engagement part, that makes a game that is both engaging to play and also play to earn. I firmly believe that there is a way to do this. Like, I'm not sure what it is, but I believe there is a way to do it. And why I believe is that I think there's already kind of play to earn games out there that are just not crypto. Like, for example, World of Warcraft. I hear there are people that are just farming accounts and then selling them on eBay, or Path of Exile, that people are again like farming items and then selling that on some secondary market. So there should be a way. I mean, if you make these markets kind of legit, and people are able to actually transact in a proper way, you should be able to achieve it. So that would be, I guess, my advice to these people.
So it seems like do your research and get into maybe, instead of trying to do a bunch of them, do your research and pick the one or two that you really believe in, and the team that you really believe in, and the game that's actually solving this engagement problem, or maybe not a problem, but like this engagement opportunity to really meld gaming and play to earn and crypto and blah, like all of it together. That seems really interesting. I think you need to do research. I think in all the cases you need to do research. If you just spray and pray, I'm not sure that's sustainable. But yeah, definitely. I would even say for somebody who like has zero capital, go in and try to help the team. Like, if you find a project that you like, go be a part of the community. Go talk to somebody, talk to a lot of somebodies, and see if you could be a part of the team. I mean, maybe you could be like a community manager for their Discord or their Telegram or something, and just get in there and do something. Like, don't sit on the sidelines because you're afraid. Like, just jump in. You might get burned somehow, but that's okay. You just got to keep going and keep going and keep going. So
one of the greatest decisions I made, along my journey was to start working in the ecosystem. I mean, it was like a regular job. I mean, I got hired. I was paid like a regular salary and all this. I mean, I had like vesting tokens and everything, but they didn't end up like being a huge amount of money or anything. But during these 3 years, I managed to learn so much that it gave me this edge over the market that otherwise it would be impossible.
That's amazing. Yeah. And I mean, look how far you've come. And I mean, 3 years is really not that long of a time. If you think it like in the grand scheme of a human being's life, it's not a tremendous amount of time. In the world of crypto, it's like a billion years, because I feel like time works differently for us, but for a human being. So now that you're here where you are and you have your fund manager, what is your, like, has your investment thesis changed? Like, how do you actually go about starting your own fund? Because I feel like a lot of people want to do that. They don't really know how. So how did you actually get that started?
So the thing is, as your portfolio grows, I think you need to change your perspective a little bit, because what happens is that when you're small initially, you pretty much invest a lot of your time into certain thing in order to you have a job like 8-hour job every day, and that kind of things, or like you need to invest your time into these things to make them work. Now, when you have a lot of capital, you try to utilize the capital, not your time, because you're really constrained by the amount of time that you have, and this can't really scale. You have only 24 hours per day. So when you start to have capital, now you need to figure out, okay, I have this resource now, how I should make it work for me so that I don't work for the resource. So to kind of switch it over. Actually, this is actually a good topic about like, what do you do when you earn life-changing money? There are, I think, two extremes. One extreme is where you start doing crazy stuff like Lambos and drugs and whatever. The other extreme is when you pretty much continue to do what you used to do, but that's also not good. Like, a lot of people think that's good, but that's actually not good, because you're wasting your time. You start spending time on things that are actually not significant. Like, I don't know, driving 1 hour to the petrol station that has like a 10% lower gas price, right? It just doesn't make sense. So you need to to find the balance where you need to figure out what is the best use of your time so that you maximize the output of this time, and combine this with the capital. So the thing with the DeFi funds that I created is that what I figured out is that, because when I was beginning with the DeFi farming, what I figured out that I can do as a job is to consult other funds about in which farms they could put their money. And I'm doing like the security assessment, the technical stuff. And that's super valuable for them, because they have the money, they don't have the security expertise. So they need someone to do that for them. But what I figured out is that there is a certain amount of funds that I can have as a client. Like, at some point, I just can't handle more work. So I had to flip this over. Like, and what I did was that I found like the right partner that is going to help me out with all the management, like all the legal stuff and all this. And he's going to collect like the money, and I'll be the one that is doing the security assessment once, and then all the money are being deployed. And this way, you scale the amount of capital, and with this fixed amount of time that you have, by scaling the amount of capital, you maximize the profit that you get. So this is an example of why it makes sense to do it this way and to have like a fund. So and why I decided to do the funds is that I manage my own portfolio, and I make money out of this, but I could make more money if I also take external capital and do this for other people who otherwise can't do it, and take a performance fee out of this. So that's kind of an example of how things change, like your perspective changes as the size of your portfolio changes.
So now that you're here and you have your fund, it seems like the thing that you're really focused on is like how to optimize your returns given an almost unlimited amount of capital that you can scale up to, and how to still optimize your returns. But are you still like doing a lot of research? Are you doing like math every day? Like, what does your actual day-to-day look like? How do you spend your time really in the space?
Well, I have a lot of meetings that I need to go through like almost every day. This is mainly because we do angel investing with this collective of angels. It's called Daedalus Angels. We already deployed like $3 million across different deals. And what happens is that we have like a crazy deal flow right now. We probably have over 20 or 30 deals in the pipeline right now. So this is connected with making a lot of meetings. And the idea behind the meetings is that you want to meet the team. You want to hear the idea from them to explain how it works. You go through their decks. You're trying to assess, how good is this idea? What is the potential in it? and what size of bet you want to put into that. So that's one of the things that I'm doing. Another part is this research around protocols, where I try to identify interesting new protocols that I potentially could allocate capital to. That would be, I don't know, new protocols or new blockchains that are starting out. I see what amount of liquidity they have, and so what amount of capital can be deployed there. What is the API that they provide, and all this. So when I do this, I also adjust my portfolio, and also I generate ideas for the fund that is a little bit less frequent and less risky than the stuff that I'm doing. So I'm spending some time on this to figure out that. And the third thing that I got involved, it's mostly as an advisor, is this DeFi protocol called Tesseract, which is, imagine like YEarn but on Polygon blockchain. So we managed to do a deal with the iEarn team to expand their protocol across other blockchains. And this is a third thing that I'm putting time in. To be honest, like with all these three things, things are getting so busy that it could be really tiring sometimes. I mean, and also the markets are not sleeping. There is always something going on. So I really try to find some time to decompress from time to time, because otherwise I think you can really go crazy. There is just so much going on. And to a large extent, that's because we are in a bull market. So when we go into a bear market at some point, I think things are going to be much more quiet. But right now it's just crazy. So yeah, I would say a lot of meetings, some research. Unfortunately, I don't have any time to write code anymore. It just requires a lot of concentration and a lot of flow time that it's very hard for me to allocate at that point.
So just a few more questions for you. I'm very appreciative of your time. I recognize you're just saying you're very, very busy. So thank you again for sharing the time here for the show.
Yeah, sure.
Do you think that people who are getting into this, do you think they need some sort of coding or programming background, or that's just like a bonus? Like, and if they do need it, is it too late to learn?
I think it's never too late to learn. I think coding definitely helps, and it's something that is going to be very valuable for them, because they'll be able to understand how the technology works, and this is going to help them also recognize like bullshit from the real things, I guess. There is so much noise in the space right now that in order to filter it out, it's super hard. I think I've never seen any community or ecosystem with so much noise in it. And I think it's because everyone is chilling his own bags. And it's very hard to recognize who is like giving like a good information and who is just chilling his bags. So I think the more people know about this, the better. And I would definitely encourage people to learn how to code. I think I'm maybe a bit biased because I'm with the software background, but I think that coding is going to become one of these skills that is going to be like maths or reading or whatever. I mean, in order to find a good job, you're gonna need to do it at some level, like not very high, but at least some, to be able to, I don't know, just do simple automations and things to be more efficient. So it definitely gonna help. So I would encourage people to learn it.
So when it comes to the crypto gaming space, and I know it took us a little while to get specifically here, but that was a lot of really, really interesting background. When it comes to the crypto gaming space, what are you seeing as, kind of like the state of crypto gaming as we see it now? And then where do you see it going in the future?
So I think this play to earn model, it's something that definitely is worth exploring. And I think there is a lot of so imagine it this way, like this is the analogy that I'm trying to do. Imagine if you have two games that are exactly the same in their engagement and mechanics and all this. And one of the games allows you, after spending, I don't know, 100 hours playing it, to cash out, the time that you spend there as some amount of money. Like no matter what is the amount. And the other one doesn't. So which one you're gonna choose? I think it's pretty clear that the option to be able to exit and to cash out your time is very compelling to people. Now, keep in mind that there is a very important detail in that. If you spend 100 hours and then stop playing the game for a month, the amount of money that you're going to cash out is going to be smaller, because for sure there will be inflation happening in this game, because while you're not playing, other people are playing. So there's going to be inflation in the economy. So if you stop playing and at that point you decide, okay, I'm going to quit and I'm going to sell all the skins and whatever, like swords that I farmed, you're gonna get, I don't know, $100. But after a month, I'm gonna take like a $50. I mean, that's just a decision that you need to do. So I think that's one of the things that probably going to change. Other stuff, I think I'm not so knowledgeable about the in-depth gaming mechanics, but what people tell me is that this free-to-play model, it has its own kind of specifics, how you deploy games that are free to play. There's like a whole business model behind it, how exactly you need to do it in order to be successful and all that. I think there is a chance that this might change in the future with crypto, to be disrupted in some way. I think many people are not very happy with this free to play model and in-app purchases and all that. So we'll see. Personally, I'm super excited about one part of this play to earn model that I'm not sure that people actually realize, but play to earn games are a great way to provide remote jobs into low income areas across the globe. So imagine, people, I don't know, in Africa that don't have good jobs or need to work in, I don't know, in gold mines and threaten their health. Instead, get like a cheap laptop and learn how to play these games and be able to earn like a small amount of money, compared to the Western world, but actually provide for this economy. I think this could change the way it kind of creates a market where you have the people in the West that don't have the time but have the money, and people in these poor areas that have the time but don't have jobs, in order to connect in some way. So, for example, I want to have a higher level hero in some game, and I'm willing to pay for it, and somebody else is going to farm this hero and going to sell it to me. And I think that's an okay market, and that's something that is worth exploring as a way to solve, I don't know, even poverty. You can say like solving poverty in low income areas. I think it has the potential to do it.
I absolutely agree. And that's one of the things I'm extremely excited about too when it comes to crypto gaming. Is it's not just there's not a teeny tiny market that we're going after here. Like, we have the whole world, and a significant portion of the world is in serious poverty. I mean, how many times do you hear this? Do we have to hear the statistic? This group of people is living on like less than $1 a day. Now they don't have to. Like, now they literally do not have to anymore. And I mean, that's exciting. Like, that's actually making a really measurable difference in somebody's life. If you could actually give them a way to make more than what they were making before, and they can do something fun like playing a video game. Like, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So I
mean, they might not really care about playing the video game, but it's to be honest, like, we invest in this company that is doing that in Indonesia and Philippines, and people, I'm not sure how engaged they are about the games, but this is a job that is much better than anything else that they can get out there, and they're super happy about it because they're making like decent income, and they don't need to be in some poor working environment.
Exactly. It's incredible. So, I want to start wrapping up here and be really cognizant of your time. But from more of an investment perspective, what do you really look for in these games and these projects surrounding metaverse, crypto gaming? Like, what's kind of maybe you have like a checklist or like a mental model that you exercise here, but what are you really looking
Yeah.
for?
I think one of the major things are who are the founders. A big plus is when you see people from the industry getting involved. So not like people that understand gaming, not so much like crypto people. For example, we are about to invest in this company that is done by someone who is like an OG in the gaming industry, and that's like super plus for the deal. I think that increases the chance that the game is going to be successful. Generally, games, in my opinion, are really hit based. So it's either zero or a hit. And that makes these investments super risky. So the way I think about such kind of investments is that there is a very, very low chance they're actually going to succeed, unfortunately. I think very few games actually manage to reach like good traction. What I personally like, and we already invested in one company like this, is who is building infrastructure for games. So imagine an SDK for Unity, for the Unity engine, that games can easily integrate blockchain in them. So they don't need to hire Solidity developers. They don't need to think much about it. They already have a game in Unity. They just want to put some marketplace into it for exchanging NFTs for some of the items. And this is great because you don't bet on a single game. You bet on the infrastructure. And if you have like one or two games that they manage to capture with their SDK that is successful, that will be a success for them too. So I think that's a good approach to go after it. I think that's pretty much it. Like, there's also the case. I think it's very true that people say that investors are like herd animals. When they see like a big investor putting money into something, everyone wants to get in, right? So that's also, and that's super true. Like when you see some big fund investing into a game, you're like, oh my God, I need to get in. And I think that's, it's FOMO, but also it's the case that if a large fund invest into something, there is a high chance they're going to make sure that they give the best opportunities to this game. Like they're going to connect them with the best people, best projects. So the probability is going to succeed is higher. So that's just how it works.
That's amazing. Well, Val, I want to thank you so much for coming on to the show today and really sharing some of your very valuable time. I'm tremendously appreciative. So thank you. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you for having me, Ben. It was a great conversation. I hope I was helpful. And see you on crypto Twitter.
Absolutely. And on that note, where would you like people to go, call to action, maybe follow you on Twitter or LinkedIn, or where do you want to send the people?
Twitter is the place. Valentin Mihov. Just drop me a DM. My DMs are open, so I'll be happy to chat with you.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. And to everybody watching and listening, thank you so much for sticking with us all the way till the end here. I know your mind is exploding with all of the value that Val has been given to you. So I would highly suggest going back through and listening a couple times, especially on the parts about how to find investments, what to do if you're new, and a couple other things there. So go through and listen a couple times, really make sure it gets into your noggin, and happy hunting out there. I'll see you guys on the next episode. Thanks again, Val.
Thank you.